Hi, welcome back to my channel. So in the previous video I created on propagating Pinguicula, I ended up with too many pings and propagations and not enough room. So I decided to do part 2 of that video. And in this video, I will create a Pinguicula kingdom, otherwise known as a pingdom. Hope you enjoy. So here I have my Pinguicula soil, and I discussed this in a previous video, the ingredients of the soil, and it includes Promix HP as the base, and then rather fine perlite, but I think you can just use regular perlite. Anything will do really. And some lava rock, some pumice, and of course the fine pool filter sand. And in my previous video I talked about how pool filter sand is just very finely sifted without clumps and whatnot. It's a very fine sand. And what I decided to do was to use this chicken wire to create a background for the terrarium. Because I think I'd like to see if I can get some pings to grow on the back of the terrarium. Now, if you were a patient person, which is not me, but probably would have been a better idea in retrospect, is to just lay the terrarium on its back and then do this backdrop, fill it with moss or substrate, and then plant the Pinguiculas, and then just let them have a couple of weeks to root in, so that when I stand the terrarium back up, the pings would already be rooted in and wouldn't fall out. As you'll see later in the video, if I just plop them in there, they'll just tend to fall out because they haven't grabbed on yet. But anyway, I've cut this chicken wire, and I just bought this on Amazon. You can probably see it in my affiliate links. Cut this chicken wire to size, and I've just secured it on with some small zip ties to the top of the terrarium, and then I'll fill it with substrate later, probably with some moss and maybe a little bit of soil, some lava rock and whatnot. So I'm just setting this in the back here and securing it into place. So this is actually, I think, the third time I'm doing this voiceover. I did it first last night into the wee hours of the morning, and then right when I was about to go to bed, I deleted all of the recordings. So that kind of sucks, but here I am. I'm doing the voiceover recording again. And I decided to do the voiceover because I found that I was just having some technical issues with being able to do some planting or propagating or whatnot, and still be able to get my microphone to work properly. I think I just need to adjust some of the input and output of the microphone. Okay, so I'm just securing the back, just pushing the leca balls in, and I've got my Pinguicula soil, and I will just pour the substrate in. The leca balls are just kind of my drainage layer, just so the plants don't sit in water, and Pinguicula really do like to be in water, but not necessarily be sopping wet, but they do like to have that kind of reservoir of water. And what I'm going to do here is to create kind of a berm, or create some wavy hills, because if I just lay all the pings in here flat, there just won't be any sense of dimension. It'll just be flat. So what I decided to do after the fact is, you'll see, is create some layers by using a piece of styrofoam. So I did some research, and just to make sure that it would be safe for the pings. I mean, I'm not eating it, I'm not drinking my terrarium. So I think the styrofoam will be fine. They're not going to harm the Pinguicula at all. And what it does is just allows me some space to kind of raise up the soil and be able to do so and use less soil because, well, everything is expensive these days, right? So I think a bag of this Pro Mix is like $20, which, you know, you'd think it would last a long time, but because I grow a lot of begonias and they love to melt, I sometimes throw away or compost a lot of the soil because I don't want to reuse it in case there's, you know, mold or mealybugs or just rotting leaves and whatnot. So anyway, yeah, Pro Mix tends to be quite expensive as I go through a lot of it. So anyway, the styrofoam, which I got from some packaging, will just raise the bottom of it and create a little bit of a higher layer or a hill or a berm for me to create some dimension and height or relative height for my Pinguicula. Just make it a little bit more interesting. So now that I've got the soil in, I'm just going to water it really, really well, and let's just pour this water in. And just make it nice and moist because my soil was actually quite dry. And pack it down a little bit. It's quite, I feel quite lucky to have had these pings growing for the past, I don't know, year or two, and been able to propagate them so that I can just go to my tent on a whim if I just feel like being creative one day and just be able to pull some pings out and make a pingdom. So create a nice terrarium full of pings. There's something meditative about it. And I've said this before in previous videos, but I think that as a mom or as a person, it's important to have hobbies that are unrelated necessarily to your day job. And just have something that you're able to do that just completely takes your mind off things, or completely what's the word I'm looking for? Completely occupy your mind so that you can just relax and not think about any troubles of your day or troubles going on in your life, and just be able to focus on something else and have something be creatively challenging and have a creative outcome, and then watch that grow. I think it's important to have something that you enjoy that's just for you, that is almost meditative in that sense. So I'm taking my lava rock. I actually bought a bag of lava rock that I found on Facebook Marketplace, and I think it was like, you know, a fairly good sized garbage bag, maybe half a black garbage bag full of this lava rock for like $20. Ideally, of course, I would love like a big, beautiful, big lava rock and have the pings kind of grow on that, but this will do. So I'll just kind of stack these lava rock around in this terrarium and just place some Pinguicula around, and maybe use some of the lava rock to hold up the berm and hold up some of the pings to prevent them from falling until their roots grab on. Their roots are quite shallow though. So we'll just kind of lay these around until it's satisfactory, and then I'll start to plant the Pinguicula. So there's no rhyme or reason to any of this. I'm just kind of laying them around randomly, and I'll plant some pings and then I'll lay some more lava rock at a later time where I see fit. I think at a lot of aquarium or reptile stores you can buy chunks of different types of rock, porous rock like lava rock, or I don't know, some sort of like limey kind of rocks, or different types of rock that are somewhat porous so that the Pinguicula can root into them and the rocks can also hold some water. So here I'm just grabbing a bunch of pings and just planting them here and there, grabbing some lava rock and just kind of tucking them in. And as I mentioned in a previous video, I find some pings, their leaves kind of curl down like this one. And so in that case, I'll need to kind of build up the soil or put it on top of a lava rock so that the soil makes contact with the rock or the substrate. And so other pings, their leaves don't really curl, or they curl upwards, or they're flat, and so I can just pretty much make a little hole or just lay them right on top of the soil. And if I get soil or a little bit of dirt on top of the leaves, I just have my good old dollar store paintbrush and I can just brush off some of the soil from the pings. It doesn't harm them. They fairly readily produce their sticky kind of juices that the fungus gnats will stick on to. Also, in my trays of pings, after a while there's a lot of moss that grows, and it's a lovely type of moss usually, so I'll sometimes take some of the moss and plant it into my terrariums as well, because I think moss is quite beautiful. It's kind of like if you imagine stepping on lush summer grass, and that's inside my terrarium. And here I have Totoro, so I'm going to find a place for him. If you don't know who Totoro is, you have to look up Studio Ghibli. I don't know if it's Studio Ghibli or Ghibli, however it's pronounced. It's a Japanese, I guess, movie studio. I think it has since been purchased by Disney, but it's originated from Japan, and there are some lovely, amazing cartoons, anime. I started watching them when a friend introduced them to me, and watched some of them with my kids. Some of them are, fairly basic for younger kids to watch and understand. And what I like about them especially is that they're much more slower paced. They're not like, your movies or cartoons of the present time that move so quickly, and everything's zooming around and Paw Patrol dogs are flying in the air or whatnot. It's fairly slow paced with lots of beautifully composed music, and a lot of deeper meaning to a lot of the cartoons, often to do with spirituality or protecting the environment or family values, that kind of thing. So the movies are quite beautiful, and there's a lot of them, and I believe they're all on Netflix now, or the majority of them. Some, like I said, are quite basic, simple, and some have a little deeper meaning, like maybe Spirited Away, or Howl's Moving Castle, or Princess of Nausicaa. And then there was a recent one, maybe it's still out in theaters actually, it's January of 2024, and the recent one by Hayao Miyazaki, which is the producer of a lot of them and the artist, is called The Boy and the Heron, and that's it's gotten great reviews as well. So anyway, I'm gonna find a place or some hair for Totoro, but here I have a ping with lots of leaves, so I'm also borrow a few, and look, you can see there's some roots there, and just propagate them. You know, for some reason there's some like addiction to propagation. You know, is it that we love to see the little babies when they come out, or just love to create more beauty? I don't know, maybe we're hoarders. I should speak for myself. So I'm just going to plant these pings in and find some appropriate hair for Totoro. Find a good place for him. Tuck some more lava rock here and there. And then I can just go to my grow tent where I keep my pings, and I keep them in just those black plastic potting trays, those seedling trays. I poke some holes in the bottom, and then I let it sit in another black seedling tray, and then I just pour water into that second tray and just kind of let them sit in water. The water can be gross, they don't care. They just tend to, in my opinion, like to just sit in kind of swampy water. I also have them really close to my grow light. Oh, this is a really nice ping. I can't remember its name, but it has the longer arms and this cute little flower. And in higher light, the leaves get a really adorable, fuzzy kind of baby pink color. The one I have at my shop in the States is a really lovely pink color. So yeah, my pings are pretty close to the grow lights. My grow lights aren't crazy strong, but they're probably as close as 4 to 6 inches from my grow lights. And that is what I find will really color them up. If you don't give them enough light, then they just pretty much stay green. But if you give them light, then they turn their pinks and browns and purples and whatnot. So here we've got Totoro. I'm just gonna snug him in here and think about what I want to give him for hair. Alright, let's go find him some hair. So, while I'm at it, feel free to like and subscribe below to help my little amateur channel grow. And also please comment. It really helps with the algorithm, and it helps for me to see what you'd like me to talk about. So it doesn't have to be just about begonia or pinguicula. I can do tours of my anthurium tent, or my begonia terrarium or tentarium, or various terrariums, how I prop things in all my prop boxes. Just comment on what you'd like me to talk about. I think there was a suggestion to talk about iridescent begonia as well, or maybe how to pollinate, or extract seeds from begonias, how to store pollen. Okay, so we've got this Totoro ready almost, and give Totoro some hair. What color of hair should he have? I actually put some pings into a lot of my terrariums just for them to, even some of my prop boxes, just for them to murder, for them to eat, for them to catch. That's probably a better word. I probably shouldn't say the MURDER word, actually. Probably get kicked off this channel, actually, or booted off YouTube. Anyway, this looks like good hair for Totoro, nice and full, and he'll have a little purple flower coming out of his head, or maybe violet colored flower coming out of his head in the next week or so. So we'll just snug him in here. You want to make sure that the ping is really snug into the area. You can make the planter quite full of soil, and I'd say within 2 or 3 weeks the roots will grab on. Give a bit of water here. I've talked about in a previous video that I just use regular tap water. I don't use filtered water. I don't go out and buy filtered water. Once upon a time I did have I bought a zero water filter, and I used that for a little while, but I found that I can really use just tap water. They certainly don't mind. There's some dead leaves, you can just pull those out on the bottom so they don't rot. If there's a little bit of the leaf that is still firm, you can just cut off the limp part, leave the firm part, and try to propagate that part. Usually the base of the leaf is still a little firm. So yeah, even at my shop, I have, it's well water in the small town of Blaine, Washington. And, the water comes out kind of yellow, so we don't drink from it, although I think it would be fine. But I water my plants with it, and I water my pings with it, and they're perfectly happy. As far as humidity goes, I find, it's like the winter time here, so it's probably quite dry with the heat, especially in my garage, because I've got multiple space heaters blowing. And even in the summer, in fact, I usually actually keep a lid on my trays if they're out of my grow tent. If they're in my grow tent, then I won't keep a lid on because the grow tent will already be somewhat humid. I don't necessarily run a humidifier in with my pings, although occasionally I might, especially if there's some other plants in there. So I put a little begonia here above Totoro's head, like the classic Totoro posters or pictures that you see. Totoro always has, or often has, a little leaf above his head. Okay, so now let's hit the time lapse and let's just plant the rest of these in. You really don't need to see me go through planting all of them. It's quite challenging to plant the background and get the Pinguicula to stick to the background. So that's why I would suggest, if you are more patient, to lay the terrarium down, plant the pings. Okay, so I think I'm done my pingarium, or pingdom, I guess it's called pingdom. I tried to water it so that this dirt can come off the leaves, but I'll put it under bright light now. There's Totoro with his begonia leaf. Down here we have some big pings. There's a beautiful pink one and another beautiful pink one, LRCA, I believe. Some cyclosecta, and I'm told that cyclosecta will grow and fill out the back, which is my hope. What I probably should have done was maybe planted this and laid it flat on its back and just allowed it to adhere and then plant the rest of it. But instant gratification, I wanted it done today, so that would have given the cyclosecta a chance to actually adhere, like grow its roots into the background and hopefully stick on better. So I'd like to put more in there, and I probably will, but for now I'm gonna let things settle a little bit. But here we have that burn that goes up the back, the lump, and some lava rock, and we'll see how this grows in. So that took up a lot of my pings, so I can free up some space. It'd be nice to have some back here as well, growing in the background. So I'll see if I can do that. If I can kind of tuck them in there. But I just adhered this, or attached this mesh to the back of the terrarium using tiny zip ties. And there you have it. So we'll just let this grow wild, I think. Hope you enjoyed it. Please click like and subscribe below. Bye.
This can only mean one thing, but my love might begin to believe